Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Frank Burrs. I'm the chair of the committee. So this is Committee of Adjustment for July 16th. It's 3:30. Um, I do have an announcement before I begin. Committee members, we will cut off the committee today at 5 o'clock. Okay. So we'll break for a half an hour and then we have to go into our regular council meeting. So we'll go as far as we can with all the files. Okay, I've got some preamble. Members of the public are invited to participate in this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment by attending the meeting in person at the Middlesex Center Municipal Office in Coldstream. Members of the public may also access the meeting, which will be live streamed on our Middlesex Center YouTube channel, or by contacting the municipal deputy clerk to receive a registration link to join the meeting electronically. Members of the public wishing to appear as a delegation can register for the meeting by visiting middlesexcenter.ca/participating/council/meetings, or by contacting the municipal deputy clerk, who sits beside me, by 4:30 on the Monday of the week of the scheduled meeting. All requests to delegate are subject to the provision of the Middlesex Center Committee of Adjustment Procedure Bylaw. Members of the public can choose to delegate in person or by electronic participation. Accessible formats and communication supports are available upon request. So I'll turn to the committee. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Okay, and I should ask, is Jean Coles online? Can you tell? Yes? Is Jean Coles? Okay, so she's on. Good. Okay, I'll move on to item 3, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest. The Municipal Conflict of Interest Act requires any committee of adjustment members declaring a pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof, where the interest of a member of the Committee of Adjustment has not been disclosed by reason of the member's absence from the meeting, to disclose the interest at the first open meeting attended by the member of the Committee of Adjustment and otherwise comply with the Act. I'll move on to item number 4. So we have minutes to receive, and that is the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for June 18th. Motions, please. Mover, seconder. Councillor Shipley, Councillor Cates, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, we'll move on to current applications. Members of the public that wish to receive further notification on any of the applications being considered today, we ask that you please send an email to the deputy clerk at clerk@middlesexcenter.ca requesting further notification. Please be advised that comments expressed in written material presented are a matter of public record. If you have any questions on any of the applications being heard today, we ask that you direct those to the appropriate planner on file, and they sit to my left. Members of the public that have requested to speak will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address council and provide comments on the applications. In keeping with our procedural bylaw and our zone policy, I would remind all our meeting participants to use respectful language and uphold our values of cooperation, trust, and openness. Before I introduce the first file, I will just call your attention to what our process is. So I, as the chair, will introduce the files. Our planners assigned to the file will present their report. The applicant or their agent may then make comments or ask questions to the planner and committee. And then I would ask you to come up here and I'll do that at the appropriate time. Anyone in attendance is then asked for questions or comments. Then we'll turn online for attendees for questions and comments. I will then ask Committee of Adjustment members for their comments or questions on the file, and then we'll proceed to vote on that application. So that is our process. So with that, we'll kick off the first file. And we have 8 files today. We'll try to go through them as best we can. This is minor variance A12-2025 filed by Jennifer Henderson for release from the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to permit maximum gross floor area of 301 meters squared for all residential accessory buildings and permit a maximum height of 7.32 meters for an accessory building, a garage. So she's basically building a garage here with living accommodations on top of it. And I would put some other preamble in here, point to the chief building official's comments. No sleeping or residential occupancy occur with the building unless authorized by the building permit. that a septic system be installed to service the proposed building. Why? There is a planned washroom in the building. And that's all I'll say. And now I will turn to our planner on this file, who's Dan Fitzgerald. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so through the chair to members of the committee, my name is Dan Fitzgerald, planner with Middlesex County, providing planning services here today to the committee. So the purpose and effect of this application is to seek relief from the zoning bylaw as it relates to the construction of an accessory structure. And this is in the format of a detached garage with a living area above. The applicant is seeking an increase to the maximum lot coverage for the permitted accessory building to 218 square meters. Whereas the bylaw currently permits the lesser of 165 square meters or 3% lot coverage for all structures. As well, they are seeking an increase to the maximum permitted height to 7.32 meters, whereas 6.5 meters is permitted in the surplus residence zone. So as depicted in the attached drawing, the applicant is seeking to construct a new detached garage with a second story above. And as indicated by the applicant, the second story is only intended to be used by the homeowners as an office space, not as a dwelling unit. So subject to the property, the subject property is located west of the settlement area of Kamoka-Kilworth, and it is within the agricultural area. It's designated agricultural in Middlesex County's official plan, as well as Middlesex Center's official plan. And it is zoned surplus residence zone, as it was formerly removed from the surrounding agricultural croplands. The property does contain 2 existing accessory structures to the rear of the lands, as well as a single detached residence and the associated private services. So just a point of clarification, it is noted that an error did occur in the interpretation of the application in this case. The existing single detached residence was identified as a detached garage on the application form, and as such, it was included in the overall accessory building size request for the property. This area was caught thanks to the diligence of our committee members here. Through further discussion with the applicant, they did agree that the revised total accessory building request for all structures on site is 218 meters, not the 301 square meters. So the planning report online was updated and a recommendation was updated accordingly to that revised request as well. I have reviewed this proposed minor variance against the 4 Planning Act tests. So as included in the report, I do not anticipate negative impacts to neighboring parcels. The increase in size and height are mitigated by the location of the structure, the existing vegetation as well as sight lines to the existing neighboring properties. Planning staff are aware of concerns regarding the structure being used as a dwelling unit. So it is noted that as a condition, it has been added that indicating the dwelling unit would not be permitted within the structure at this particular point in time. So for these reasons, staff are satisfied that the proposed variance does meet the 4 tests and recommends approval of minor variance A12-2025, subject to those 3 conditions as outlined in the recommendation report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So now I'll turn to, is the applicant or their agent here? Online, okay. So then we'll go online. Is this Jennifer Henderson? Oh, Chris Melchers is speaking for Jennifer Henderson. I'll wait. Okay, Chris, are you there? Okay. Can you see if he's online? Okay. Give him a bit of time. Chris, are you there?
I am. Here we go.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead. You got
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I just listened to the planner's report there, and all seems fine. It just when you had mentioned that the one condition was that it cannot be used as a dwelling unit. Does that just mean like it can't be used as a like a living space, like, or a just looking for a bit of clarification on that?
Okay. Dan, I'm going to turn to you. Do you want to comment on that, please?
Yeah, so through the chair. So When we just say dwelling unit, we mean a separate, complete dwelling unit.
Okay.
So not as an extension of the existing residential space, but as a fully separated rented unit.
I got you. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I don't have anything further to add, I don't think.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else online? No? Okay. Then I'll turn to committee members for questions or comments. Anyone? No? Okay. So we can proceed to motions. Mover? Sue Cates? Wayne Shipley? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Thank you. That's carried. The application is approved. Okay, I'm now going to move on to 5.2 on the agenda, which is a minor variance application, A132025, filed by Jason Baylor and Corinne Ponton for relief from our zoning bylaw in order to establish a minimum interior side yard setback of 2.1 feet for an accessory structure and an eave encroachment of not more than 1 foot against the interior and rear yard setbacks. So we have an eave encroachment. The structure is already in place, and I noticed one of the neighbors has noted a runoff issue. Having said that, I'll turn to the planner, Dan Fitzgerald. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so through the chair, the purpose and effect of this application is to seek relief as it relates to the placement of a detached accessory structure, which is located in the rear yard of the subject property. So the applicant did construct an accessory structure in the rear yard that is located in close proximity to the neighboring property line. They are seeking to reduce the minimum interior side yard setback of the accessory building to 0.66 meters or 2.1 feet. Whereas the current standard in the zoning bylaw would be 1 meter in the urban residential first density exception 2 zone. They would also require a reduction to the maximum permitted encroachment of an eave to not more than 0.3 meters, whereas the bylaw currently permits a maximum encroachment of up to 0.6 meters into the side yard. The effect of the variance would be to permit the placement of the outdoor structure, which accommodates an outdoor seating area. So the subject lands are located in Ilderton. They are surrounded by single detached residents on all sides. It is municipally serviced and maintains the existing residence, an attached rear deck, a swimming pool, as well as this particular accessory building. It's designated settlement area in Middlesex County's official plan, residential Middlesex Center's official plan, and its zone urban residential first density exception 2 in the zoning bylaw. So as noted, the applicant has previously constructed the building closer to the property line than is currently permitted. I did attend the neighbor's site to review the impact of the interior side yard with the stated concern that water currently does run off the existing roof of the accessory building and is washing away soils on his land. So I note that the current eave of the structure does extend very close to the neighboring interior property line. So in review of this particular variance, we did look at the setback of the building as well as the eave line. And in discussion with the property owner, they acknowledged the concern and indicated that the water would be directed away from the neighboring property through the installation of an eaves trough and a downspout towards an existing French drain at the back of the lands. However, we did note that maintaining separation for the eave line to the interior property line would be preferred due to snow melt as well as heavy rain events. So as such, a second variance was added to permit the eave encroachment, but no further than 1 foot from the property line. So essentially the eave line would still have to maintain at least 1 foot away. Along with the eaves trough along the back and the downspout, staff are satisfied that the structure if properly maintained, should not impact the neighboring lands. So therefore, staff are recommending approval of the variance subject to 2 conditions, and those being that the reduction to the interior side yard setback shall not impede the existing drainage patterns or negatively impact neighboring properties. And second, that the eaves trough and downspout be provided and direct water away from the neighboring lands. So thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I'll now turn to the audience. Is the agent, is the agent or are you the applicant? Okay, do you have any comments or questions? Do you agree with what was said? You're not forced, we're not forcing you to comment if you don't want to. If you agree with it, that's fine. Okay. Look at that. Good. So you're happy. So anybody online, Sophie? Nobody's online. So now I'll turn to committee members for comments and questions. Anyone? No? Okay. So now we can proceed on to motions and voting. Can I get a mover? Counselor Arts, Counselor Cates is a seconder. All in favor? That is carried. So it's approved. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to 5.3 on our agenda. It's a minor variance application, A14-2025, filed by Alexander Schmall for relief from our zoning bylaw in order to expand a legal non-conforming use to permit a 306.5 meter squared addition to an existing single detached dwelling, and it's on Highbury Avenue. The deal here is there's two dwellings on this property, and it's called a legal non-conforming use, but they want to double the size of the one unit. So with that, I will turn to the planner and file, who's Marian Francis Ramos Cabral. Marian? Want to hit that?
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the rest of the committee. So again, the purpose of my staff report is to provide a recommendation to the committee with regard to the minor variance application for the property located at 22811 and 22821 Highbury Avenue North, which is just southwest of the hamlet of Bryanston. So Chair had mentioned, the applicant is requesting relief from the zoning bylaw as it relates to the non-conforming uses. In this case, it's two dwellings on one lot within the agricultural zone. The applicant is specifically requesting to permit the expansion of the non-conforming use by approximately 3,300 square feet in the format of additional living space as well as a garage, whereas the bylaw does not contemplate the expansion of a non-conforming use. So this minor variance would only be applicable to the dwelling addressed as 22811 Highbury Avenue North, and there are no other changes or changes proposed to the other house on the property or to the agricultural use of the land. So the subject land is an undersized farm parcel with an area of approximately 78 acres and is actively farmed and maintains two frontages, one on Highbury as well on 12 Mile Road. The property is partially regulated along the southern boundary and is surrounded by agricultural and rural residential lots located in Bryanston. So this application was circulated to agencies, area residents, and staff. To date, we have not received any comments from residents regarding this application, and municipal staff do not provide any comments. Planning staff reviewed this application against the 4 tests of a minor variance and found that the application is minor in nature. Since the proposed expansion does not change the use of the land, the expansion will not significantly impact the agricultural use of the land nor any of the rural residential lots. There is substantial buffering as well between the dwelling and the street line, which screens the dwelling and the proposed expansion. And it's not anticipated that the expansion will generate any nuisances such as noise or traffic. In addition to the information provided in my staff report, I am satisfied that the proposed variance meets the 4 tests set out in the Planning Act and can be approved. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Marian. Is the applicant or their agent here? Did you want to speak to anything, sir? You're okay with everything that's been said? Okay, thank you very much. So anybody online? Nobody's online. So then I'll turn to committee members for questions or comments. There are none. So can I get a mover and seconder? Counselor Shipley, Counselor Cates is a seconder. All in favor? Okay, that's carried, sir. Approved. Thank you. Okay, for the sake of time, I'll move directly on to the next one, which is another minor variance. It is minor variance application 15-2025 filed by Ricardo Tebes for relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to establish a minimum interior side yard setback of 0.44 meters for an accessory structure. So the accessory structure is used to screen an existing pool. I'm not sure whether it exists or not. I think it does. And this is a vacant land condo. So for those that don't know it, it looks like a standalone house, but the common element is the road, correct? Okay. And I'll turn it over to Dan Fitzgerald.
Yeah, so through the chair, application 5.4 on the agenda today being A15/2025. So the purpose of this minor variance is to seek relief from the zoning bylaw as it does relate to an accessory structure in the rear interior side yard. So the applicant is proposing to reduce the minimum interior side yard setback for an accessory building to 0.44 meters, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters. So then the effect of this variance would be to permit the existing accessory building used to screen the pool equipment in the interior rear yard. So the subject lands is located in the Bell Lago vacant land condominium in Kamoka. It contains an existing single detached dwelling as well as outdoor amenities, including a deck and a pool. The property is designated settlement area in Middlesex County's official plan and residential in Middlesex Center's official plan. And it is zoned a residential first density exception 28 zone in Middlesex Center's comprehensive zoning bylaw. So as part of construction of the pool, the applicant did build a fence around the existing pool equipment that's located in the rear interior side yard. However, as part of that fence, they did add a portion of roofed structure over that, which does classify now as an accessory building. And the roof structure is located at 0.44 meters from the interior side yard, but it drains towards the back of the property and not the interior side yard. Adjacent to the lands is a vacant parcel of open space, which does not formulate a building lot in the condominium. Planning staff have reviewed the proposed minor variance against the Planning Act. No concerns were raised by internal or external stakeholders during circulation, and we did not receive any comments from the public. Given the location of the structure, planning staff are of the opinion that the reduced interior side yard setback could be considered minor in nature, as is not anticipated to have a negative impact on the adjacent property. So as such, staff recommend approval of minor variance application A15/2025. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Now, I think the applicant is online. Is Ricardo Tevis online? Do you wish to speak, Mr. Tevis, to the file? Want me to turn this on? No, I think it's bad. Mr. Tevis? Okay, call it one more time. Mr. Tevis, are you there? All right, so we'll wait. He's apparently connecting. No? Okay. So, Mr. Tevis? Is he not connected? Is he connected? He's connected. All right, I'm going to call one more time and then we'll move on. Mr. Tevis, are you there? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this file? No? Okay, then we can turn to anybody else online for this? I presume not. So I'll turn to committee members for comments or questions. Anyone? Nothing. Can I get then a mover and seconder on this file? Councillor Shipley, Councillor Cates is a seconder. Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. So if you're out there, Mr. Tevis, it's approved. Okay, I'll move on to the next one, which is application for minor variance 162025 filed by Daryl Howard for relief from our comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to establish a minimum interior side yard setback of 1 meter for an accessory structure. It's another vacant land condo. I will note that Rod Lucier, who probably is one of the neighbors, is supportive of this application and has issued correspondence on that. And the setback here is for pool equipment. So having said that, I'll turn to Dan Fitzgerald as the planner. Okay.
Yeah, through the chair. So as indicated, the purpose and effect of this minor variance is to seek relief from the bylaw as it does relate to the setback of pool equipment in the interior side yard. So the applicant is proposing to reduce the minimum interior side yard setback for the pool equipment to 1 meter or 3.3 feet, whereas the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters or 4.9 feet. And the reduction is requested to accommodate the placement of this particular equipment in the interior side yard between the existing dwelling as well as the neighbor's attached garage. So the subject lands are also located in the Bell Lago vacant land condominium in Kamoka. It contains an existing single detached dwelling. The property is designated settlement area in Middlesex County's official plan and residential Middlesex Center's official plan, and it's zoned a residential first density exception 28 zone in the bylaw. So as shown in the applicant's sketch, they intend to place their pool equipment in the west interior side yard, which is adjacent their neighbor's attached garage. So planning staff have reviewed the proposed minor variance against the Planning Act. No concerns were raised by internal or external stakeholders during the circulation process. I would also note that, as indicated, we did receive correspondence from the neighboring property indicating that they had no objection to the placement of the pool equipment in the interior side yard. Given the location of the structure, planning staff are of the opinion that the reduced interior side yard could be considered minor in nature, as it's not anticipated to have a negative impact on the adjacent parcel, and access would still be maintained to the rear yard. So as such, staff are recommending approval of minor variance application A16-2025. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I'll now turn to Daryl Howard or his agent. Anybody in the audience? No, Mr. Howard isn't. Anybody online, Sophie? No, okay. So I'll move on then. Anybody in the audience, and this lady wishes to speak to the file, do you want to come up here? Press the button and I'll turn on your mic. There you, that, okay.
There we go. Okay. My name is Kathy Brown. I am a rear neighbor of this proposed development, and I first of all apologize to the planning staff for not coming forward earlier. I do have a general concern about the drainage in this development. The more folks are hardscaping their backyards, the more the swale system is overwhelmed. And I am at the downwater end of the swale, and I'm experiencing a fair amount of flooding every time we get a heavy rain. So all I am asking is that if it is possible to ensure that this development sends runoff to the front of that property as opposed to adding any additional waters to the backyard, that would be helpful to maintain the current drainage system. So that's.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to speak to this file? Is there anybody online, Sophie? No, okay, if there's nobody online, I can turn now to committee members for comments or questions. Yes, Councillor Cates, go ahead, turn that on.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Dan. So I just want to follow up with Kathy's comments. Can you keep that in mind, please?
Yeah, so through the chair, what I would say is we definitely hear these types of comments a lot, especially when it comes to infilling developments, but when people are modifying their properties based on the original grading drainage plans for, in this case, the condominium. So what we generally would just note is that as part of the building permit process now, the building department does ask for grading and engineering plans when it comes to the placement of pools to make sure that they are not impacting the designed drainage patterns of that condominium. So in this case, I'm not aware if the pool is actually there or not. I don't think it is either. But as part of that process, they will be required to address the grading and drainage through the building permit process. So it shouldn't impact any property around it negatively.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for your input. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. Correct. Or did we vote yet? We didn't vote yet. Sorry. Let me, lost my train of thought there. Any comments or questions from the committee members? Nothing. Okay. I'll accept motions to table for vote. Mover, Counselor Arts, Counselor Cates, all in favor? Okay, that is carried. Off to the next application. B072025. Consent application filed by Findlater and Associates, Inc. on behalf of Van He Farms Limited in order to sever a residence surplus to a farm operation as a result of consolidation. This appeared before us at the last Committee of Adjustment meeting last month. We referred it back to the planner to work with the applicant to try to reduce the size of this severance. I would note for Stuart Findlater, are you online, Stuart? No?
Yes.
We brought him over yet.
All right. All right, I can, I'm just going to make my comment. So he had asked this question, and Middlesex Center has a practice to allow up to about 1 acre for these surplus farm residences, and they do exceed that from time to time. It's not a policy, however. In this particular case, this came to us at 2.3 acres. It went back to planning. I believe it's been reduced to 1.35 acres, and there's a change in condition 3. And that states the size of resultant severance be limited to that inclusive of the dwelling, septic and water services, wood burning structure, and the new addition is storage building with rear access and northerly hedge road to the satisfaction of the municipality. I'll stop there. I'll turn to our planner, who is Marian Francis Ramos Cabral. I think the big thing is you can read the whole report, but we've seen it before. What has changed, Marian?
Thank you, Chair. And through to the rest of the committee, I think you stole the words right out of my mouth. So essentially, the applicant initially had requested 2.3 acres, came back with the revised proposal and had reduced and sketched out an area of approximately 1.35 acres. As such, we did amend condition 3 to reflect this and gave the general boundary of these, of the surplus farm dwelling severance to include like the hedgerow, as well as some of the accessory buildings on this property, as well as access. So as a result, staff recommend approval of consent B7/2025, subject to the 17 conditions, as the proposal is consistent with the PPS and in conformity with the County and Middlesex Center official plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian. I believe Stuart Findlater is online. Are you, Stuart? Yes?
He's coming.
He's coming. Okay. We'll wait just a moment. Can you see if he's on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome, Stuart.
Yes,
Okay. So do you have it? Did you hear what was said here?
yes, I did.
Okay. Do you have any further comments or questions?
No, I don't. I discussed the updated report with my client and he's satisfied with the recommendation and as am I. So we just ask the committee approve the application as recommended by your planners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this? Nope. Okay. I'll now turn to comments or questions from Committee of Adjustment members. Anyone? Councillor Cates.
I just want to say thank you for getting it smaller. It's important to us, and thank you for doing that.
Okay. We've had the comments from Committee of Adjustment members. I'll now table it for mover, seconder, all in favor? Okay, that's approved, Stuart.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, he's going to stay on the line. You're on the next one too, Stuart.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So the next one is B082025, again represented by Stuart Findlater and Associates. This application is on behalf of Michael and Kelly Gardner in order to sever a resident surplus to a farm operation as a result of consolidation. This as well appeared last month before this committee. It was referred back to the planner to rework this application. It came in at 5 acres. I understand now that it's been reduced to 2.96 acres. And for committee members, you can see that there's a revised sketch provided. And I'm going to leave it at that and turn to our planner, who's Marian Francis Ramos Cabral. Same kind of outline. What's changed, Marian?
Yep, exactly that. So the applicant, again, came forward with the application with 5 acres last month. It was reduced to 2.96, and really they took out some of the buildings and some of the land from the proposal. So staff are satisfied with this updated proposal and have amended condition number 3 again to reflect this. So as a result, staff recommend approval of the consent application B8 2025 and subject to 16 conditions, as this proposal is consistent with the PPS and in conformity with the county and Middlesex Center official plans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Stuart, you're the agent. Do you agree with what was stated by the planner? Do you have any comments or questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've discussed this with my my client, sorry, and they're satisfied with what's being proposed at this point in time. And again, we just ask that the committee approve the application as recommended by your planner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll now turn to the audience. Is anybody in the audience wishes to speak to this file? No. I'll now turn to committee members. Any comments or questions? Councillor Cates, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to say, well, thanks for relooking at this. I think that this is maybe a bit of a, it's out of the norm for us at 2.96. And so I think you've done what you can. It does have a very deep frontage, but I just want to put it out there that 2.96 is much bigger than what we would normally do. Thank you. For future reference, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cates. Okay, can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Shipley, Councillor Cates is the seconder. All in favor? Okay, that's passed, Mr. Finletter, and the applicant.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the next and final file today, which is B092025. This is a consent application filed by Crump Enterprises Limited in order to sever a farm parcel for lot addition purposes with an area of approximately 2 acres. I would point out, I'll leave this to the planner to rather than take your thunder. I'm going to turn to the planner, Marian Francis Ramos Cabral, as the planner. Rock and roll, Marian.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the rest of the committee. So again, the purpose of this report is to provide the committee with a recommendation with regard to a consent application for 5147 Egremont Drive. The purpose and effect of this application is to adjust the property boundary by removing some of the agricultural lands from this undersized agricultural parcel and add it to the neighboring farm. So the application seeks to sever approximately 2 acres from this undersized farm parcel and then add that to a neighboring agricultural lands to the west, which is also owned by the applicant. And the retained parcel would contain an existing residential use on approximately 1 acre of land. So this subject land contains a single detached dwelling as well as accessory buildings and has some farmland, which is actively farmed. The property is surrounded by agricultural lands and crop production as well as rural residences. The rural residential use is also serviced by private servicing in the form of a septic system and well. So this application was circulated to area residents, agencies, and staff. To date, I have not received any comments from members of the public. The county engineer had identified no objections to the severance, but they do request that land be dedicated along the Egremont Road frontage to the county for road widening purposes if the road is not that width already. Planning staff have reviewed this application and are generally satisfied that the proposal is consistent with the policies of the PPS with regard to lot additions and boundary adjustments that enhance a viable farm parcel and limit the non-agricultural use in the area. I also reviewed the retained parcel size, that's the parcel with the residence, and the layout against the zoning bylaw, and I'm generally satisfied that the lot size would provide some flexibility should the dwelling be rebuilt and services upgrade at some point in the future. And I understand that while the lot itself is not a perfect square or rectangular shape, this proposal attempts to work with the existing lot fabric in the area and address the Egremont Drive frontage to the best of its ability. Staff also know that there are several outbuildings within that retained parcel that may be associated with the farming operation. With the removal of the agricultural lands, staff suggests that these buildings be confirmed as residential accessory buildings under the building code. So with the analysis provided in my staff report, I do recommend approval of B9 2025, subject to 15 conditions, as the proposal is consistent with the PPS and in conformity with the County and Middlesex Center official plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. I'll now turn to the applicant or their agent for comments or questions. No one's here. Anyone online? No. Okay. So having said that, I'll turn. Oh, she is. Okay. There we go. Are you, you're the applicant? Okay. Did you want to speak to this file, or are you happy with what was stated? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll let it go at that. Yeah, you don't have to comment. I'll now turn to the rest of the audience. Anybody else here that wishes to talk to this file? No. Is there anybody online, Sophie? No. Okay. So I'll turn to Committee of Adjustment members. Any comments or questions? No. Okay. Can I get a mover and seconder? Mover, Councillor Hartz. Councillor Cates is the seconder. All in favor? Okay. So that is approved, ma'am. Okay. So that's the end of our files. We did well on time. I'm just moving down the agenda to correspondence, and we have one piece that we have to approve. It is by Rod Lucier. It pertained to minor variance application 16-2025. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Shipley, Councillor Cates, all in favor of receiving that? Okay, good. I'll turn to the committee now. Any other business? No other business. So it's adjournment time. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Cates, Councillor Shipley. The Committee of Adjustment is, there you go, adjourned. Thank you very much. We moved pretty well through that.